and welcome back to yet another exciting week of the Lazy Money Game. In this week's episode, I will start by giving an update to my portfolio and comment on some of the latest market news, including the Jackson Hole meeting from the Federal Reserve. And afterwards, I will answer a question from one of my viewers regarding corporate actions. So let's start with a quick portfolio update. Well, the first thing we immediately notice is that there was a red circle for this week's episode. If we then go to the portfolio values tab, then you can see that my portfolio is significantly down. I'm actually down $7,400 within a single week. So this actually led me to have a conversation with one of my viewers, since one of my viewers was feeling demotivated to continue to invest whenever you have a week like this where you are losing more than what you are actually able to save, feeling like this Sisyphus work that you will continue forever and you will not get anything done. And I mean, you simply have to get used to this, because the more wealth you have managed to accumulate, I mean, even small percentage changes will be more significant than what you are able to save. That is actually the whole point of building wealth over time, that at some point your wealth will out-earn your own ability to accumulate new money. So if that demotivation is so strong that it will actually lead you to stop continuing your journey with investing, well, then you for sure know that picking individual stocks is definitely not your game. And at the same time, you could say, if you're investing into just a market ETF and you still can't handle the market fluctuations there, well, then investing definitely is not your game. You need to have the ability to look at the longer time horizon and accept that you can be down for years. So how do I deal with a week like this? Well, basically, I remind myself of my strategy and then I stick to it. And at the same time, I fully understand that I have worked really hard to earn the money, so perhaps I should also work quite hard to keep them and potentially seeing them growing. Meaning, when I'm considering buying a stock, I should make sure that I have actually put a lot of work into the investigation to determine whether or not I actually think it is a good idea. I mean, the videos that I'm making here is simply for entertainment purposes. It's like when you're going to a lecture, the teacher will say this is only entertainment. Where you really learn the stuff is when you're sitting and reading by yourself. And if you prefer cheesy movie quotes instead, well, then you can say it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And speaking of moving forward, if we continue to my favorites tab, namely the dividends tab, then we can see that it has actually been quite a good week, since I have received dividends from Unum and from Nexstar Media Group. In total, a little more than $200. If we then go back to the overview arc here and scroll all the way to the top, just so you can see how each individual stock has been performing, well, then you can clearly see that my latest purchase, namely Stanley Black & Decker, is no exception to this rule that the market is currently falling a lot. I mean, I was up close to 5% at the peak for Stanley Black & Decker. Now I'm down more than 9%. I mean, there are just a lot of fluctuations. So if we go to Finviz to take a look at the heat map, well, then you can clearly see that the market is severely down as of Friday. And if we instead of looking at a one-day performance, look at a week performance, well, then we can see that it is also clearly down for the week, and my portfolio was no exception, as I have just shown you. So what was the reason behind this severe drop in the market on Friday? Well, the Federal Reserve had that Jackson Hole meeting where Jerome Powell gave a speech, and he very clearly stated that he is sticking to his strategy of getting the inflation under control, meaning getting it down to around the 2% level. And currently, they are not convinced that the inflation is going down fast enough towards this. It's not enough for them to see that the inflation has peaked and that it has dropped ever so slightly. They need to make sure that it actually goes down, and that it goes down faster, since that is the best for the economy. That is the decision that they have made clear. So, of course, the market reacted when they are expecting that the price of money, meaning that the interest rate, are expected to keep rising, and as he stated, they will do This even though it will cost pain for the households and for the economy short term, because as he mentioned, it will be severely more painful if they are not doing this long term. I will of course leave a link in the description so you can go to the Federal Reserve's webpage here and have a look at the full speech for yourself as well. If we then continue to questions from the audience, then I have received a rather specific question regarding corporate actions, namely the latest spin-off from 3M, where you as a shareholder are offered to substitute your 3M shares for a holding in Neogen instead. So let me briefly start by explaining what is a corporate action. It is really, as the name indicates, the corporation that is taking some sort of action. My favorite kind of corporate action, and also the easiest one to explain, is a dividend payout, since there the corporation has decided to pay out a part of its profits, and hence it is by definition a corporate action. So how about this corporate action from 3M? What is the deal here? What is the action that the corporation is taking? So basically 3M has decided to split off a food and safety business called Neogen. And if you're already a 3M shareholder, the corporate action consists of the following tendering offer. Meaning, for every $100 of 3M shares that you hand in, you should approximately receive a value of $107.53 of Neogen shares. So that was the essence of what will happen. If we then look into the more technical details, then as a 3M shareholder, if you decide to participate in this offer, well, then you will receive shares in Spinco, and Spinco will then be a fully owned subsidiary of Neogen, and as a result of the spin-off from Neogen into Spinco and from 3M, then Spinco will become a fully owned subsidiary of Neogen, and as a result of that merger, you will then afterwards receive your shares in Neogen. So that's just a more technical way of stating the same as I mentioned in the beginning. As a 3M shareholder, you hand in some shares of 3M, and in the end, you will get some shares in Neogen afterwards. And then there are some more technical explanations for how many shares exactly you will receive in Neogen, depending on how many 3M shareholders wishes to participate in this spin-off. And shares are, as always, handed out on a pro rata basis, meaning if you're handing in 10 shares and somebody is handing in 100 shares, well, then you get a tenth of what they are getting. That is simply what pro rata means. But again, this is this fancy language that you need to know if you are looking into these single stock investments. So the natural next question from your side would obviously be, well, should I participate in this offer, or is this an offer that I should refuse? Unfortunately, this is where you're reaching the limitations to my channel, since I'm not handing out investment advices. I'm showing what I'm doing and trying to argue why I'm doing what I'm doing. But if it was me, I would go to Neogen's webpage, as you can see on the screen now, and then, as with all other investments, I would try to see, do I understand this business? Do I think that they have a good CEO? Do I believe that there is a bright future for this business? How are they doing compared to the competitors? Do they have a competitive advantage? Is it sustainable? So all this I would have to look closer at, but to be honest, I don't have the time to do that, since the offer is expiring tomorrow at 12. You could of course also turn the question around and say, well, what would I do if I'm sitting and looking at this offer on a Sunday evening and I don't really have the time and dedication to look closer at Neogen to understand whether or not this is an offer that I should try and take advantage of? Well, then I would follow the first rule of investing and say, never invest your money in something which you do not understand. And, well, if I don't have the time, then I simply do not understand it, since I do not know enough to take an informed decision, and then I would simply stay away. I know this is a really boring answer, but nevertheless, that is what I would do if I didn't feel confident or comfortable with investments in Neogen, since I haven't had the time to understand the business. So that actually sums it up for yet another exciting week of the Lazy Money Game. So if you have made it all the way to the end of the video and have enjoyed the content, then please consider leaving a like. It really helps out the channel a lot. And until I see you next time, bye!